Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Intellectual Disability and Criminal Justice Symposium. My name is Mark Reimers and I am the manager of the Community and Advocacy Support Unit at Endeavour Foundation. We're a systems advocacy unit that looks at promoting and protecting the human rights of people with disability who receive services from Endeavour Foundation specifically, but more broadly we do work around systems advocacy for people with a disability in a broader context. I'm very fortunate that the CEO and board allow me to have in my budget an annual symposium, and this year we chose to have it on intellectual disability in the criminal code because of the overrepresentation of people with disability in the criminal justice system. I was saying to someone before that I started work in the area of disability in 1977, and that year as a 23 or 24-year-old, I was responsible for the investigation of a sexual assault by a man with an intellectual disability for the department that I worked for at the time, with no skill, no training and no knowledge of the system. And I believe that sort of thing still happens in human services today, and that when you come up against the criminal code, it's an area of a lot of problems for both service providers, people with disabilities, as both victims and offenders. So I'm pleased that we were able to collaborate. Endeavour Foundation was able to collaborate with the Office of the Public Advocate, the Queensland Anti-Discrimination Commission, Griffith University, QUT, La Trobe University and National Disability Services Queensland. The fact that we could pull together such a working party, I think, attests to the need for work to be done in this area. And I have you all here under false pretences. You think you've come for a symposium on intellectual disability in the criminal code. I think you've come here as the start of an advocacy campaign to change the criminal code in Queensland to reflect the UN Convention on the Rights of People with an Intellectual Disability, something that's long overdue since we became signatories to the convention and are now governments should be responsible for having their policies, practices and laws in line with the UN Convention as signatories to that convention. So thanks for being co-opted at this point in time. I'd like to now hand over to David Barbagallo, who's the CEO of Endeavour Foundation.
Thanks, Mark. My name's David Barbagallo. I'm the CEO of Endeavour Foundation. Welcome everyone, except people from New South Wales. We don't like you. You cheat, and you've got a shocking criminal justice system from the statistics I've seen. So, just getting that off my chest. But truly, welcome to this wonderful building. It's got a great feel, this building, lots of natural light, and if ever light needed to be thrown onto a system, it's our criminal justice system. And so I welcome this symposium. The community advocacy and support group within Endeavour Foundation has a very difficult task, because they're charged with causing the rest of the organisation trouble. And no one likes being told they're not doing things well. No one likes being told they're part of a system that's perhaps prolonging injustice and suboptimal outcomes. But Mark, if ever there was a person up for it, it was Mark and his colleagues, and they do a fabulous job. And getting this symposium and the quality of the speakers, the issues that are going to be addressed, I'm not sure I'm allowed to endorse his reckless co-option of you to an advocacy campaign, but I think by the end of these 2 days you may join willingly. Endeavour Foundation has a responsibility, I guess, as a leading supplier of services to people in Australia to take leadership roles, because we do have some of that additional capacity. Mark might only get one symposium in his budget each year. It's the first I've heard. You can have as many as you want, provided you get the outcomes we need. But the point is...
That's on camera, thank God.
But I get to write the captions. So we do have that responsibility, and we take it very seriously, because one of our driving ambitions, well, it's not one of our driving ambition, our only mission, I guess, as an organisation, is to support people so that they have the opportunities of the choices of an ordinary life. And we had a survey recently across our staff, a cultural survey, and usual sets of issues in large organisations. You know, we don't communicate as well as we should and all the rest of it. But wonderfully, we had a very, very high percentage of people who understood what our mission was. Right? And I often say, someone who's a businessman who came to this sector, people ask me, you know, why did you go and work for a not-for-profit and disability of all things? And I said, well, you know, it's something different and blah, blah, blah. But one of the things I do say, and I mean it, is that everyone who works at Endeavour Foundation is there for the right reasons. And if you want to build a cohesive workforce and a workforce that excels, and those are the sort of, that's the sort of primary plasticine you need, that everyone's there for the right reasons. They fundamentally understand what their mission is, and that's to support people to have those choices of an ordinary life. And as I often say to my staff, if you're not doing that, stop doing it and refocus on what our mission is. So that's a very brief overview of Endeavour Foundation, our take on our responsibilities as a leading organisation in this sector. Mark has talked about his group and the aspirations of this symposium. I thank everyone for being involved. I believe we're having a Welcome to Country session, so I should take the opportunity to recognise the traditional owners of the lands in which we're meeting, the Jagera and Turrbal people. They, interestingly, just down at the Captain Cook Bridge was often where those two tribes crossed the Brisbane River to have meetings and corroborees and things like that. I won't say too much more because my knowledge of Indigenous history is, I suspect, like a lot of people in the room, a bit skin deep, so I'll stay out of areas where I'll get into trouble very quickly. But it is an important symbol, I guess, in the sense that it's only through meetings like this where we bring together a whole lot of leading thinkers in this field that we may be able to achieve and hopefully will achieve some new insights into this very important area, so that we stop the high levels of incarceration of people with disability. And I guess the other insight I'd provide is having a partner who's a district court judge and is also deputy president of QCAT for a period. Around our dinner table, we often hear the manifest examples of how injustices are brought before those various forums. So I've got some insights from the other side of the table, I guess, in a sense, and my partner often says to me that there are things ending up in her courts that shouldn't be there and that the system's broken. But of course, there's a lot of things broken in our criminal justice system in Queensland, but we won't start that debate today. So thank you. Enjoy the 2 days. I look forward to reading the summary outcomes and recommendations, and I thank you for giving up your valuable time to be with us over these 2 days. So thank you, and look forward to, as I said, reading the recommendations and hopefully seeing you behind Mark marching down Queen Street on Friday afternoon or whatever you're going to do. Thank you very much.